understanding that Iranian leaders have previously said death to America, but why is it appropriate for the President of the United States to use that kind of language when talking about civilian targets? And was the President mocking Islam by signing off his True Social post over the weekend, praise be to Allah? Wouldn't that antagonize Muslim allies across the world?
Well, I understand the questions about the president's rhetoric, but what the president cares most about is results. And in fact, his very tough rhetoric and his tough negotiating style is what has led to the result that you are all witnessing today. Iran publicly acknowledging last night that they have agreed or that they wanted this ceasefire with the United States because they no longer could tolerate being bombed by our very powerful and lethal military, and that they have committed to the reopening of the Strait of Hormuz, which the president will hold them accountable for, and it's something the administration is closely monitoring in real time.
So,
Danny.
Should the world not take his word seriously?
The world should take his word very seriously in understanding that the president is always most interested in results. And it was the Iranians who backed down, not President Trump. He said that they would face very grave consequences, as you just laid out, by the 8 p.m. deadline if they did not agree to reopening the Strait of Hormuz. And what did they do last night? They agreed to reopen the Strait of Hormuz.
We all just witnessed a masterclass in deception from professional propagandist Karoline Leavitt. Leave it alone, the truth, that is. Later saying in the same exact press conference the following.
Yesterday, the president threatened to destroy Iran's civilization, the entire civilization. Not the Iranian government, but the Iranian civilization, the Iranian people. The U.S. has been a moral leader for most of its history by fighting wars against other governments, not against civilizations. How can the president claim that America can ever have the moral high ground if he's threatening to destroy civilizations and not casting wars as fights against other governments?
Andrew, I think you should take a look at the actions of this president over the course of the past 6 weeks and the actions of our brave men and women in our United States military who have taken out essentially taken out the military of a rogue Islamic regime that has chanted death to America for 47 years, that has killed and maimed thousands of American soldiers over the course of the last 5 decades. The president absolutely has the moral high ground over the Iranian terrorist regime, and for you to even suggest otherwise is frankly insulting.
With all due respect, Caroline,
Go ahead.
with all due respect,
Go ahead.
There you have it. Yet again, not only did Leavitt hand wave away the legitimate criticisms of Trump's rhetoric in classic MAGA fashion, but she, just like the rest of the Trump administration, is pandering to the Christian nationalist voter base, hoping to spin this unmitigated disaster into a major victory for the religion, I guess. I mean, it's somehow wrong when the Iranian government says death to the West, death to Jews, death to Israel, but it's totally fine when Trump says death to the entire Iranian civilization, to all of the Iranian people. Just next level insane rhetoric, and that just dovetails with where it gets real strange and Christian nationalist when Pete Hegseth was the other day drawing analogies to the fighter pilot we saved to Jesus rising over Easter.
When he was finally able to activate his emergency transponder, his first message was simple and it was powerful. He sent a message, God is good. In that moment of isolation and danger, his faith and fighting spirit shone through. You see, shot down on a Friday, Good Friday, hidden in a cave, a crevice, all of Saturday, and rescued on Sunday. Flown out of Iran as the sun was rising on Easter Sunday. A pilot reborn, all home and accounted for, a nation rejoicing. God is good.
And here's an ex-Army general, 4-star general, Barry McCaffrey, with his thoughts.
Well, look, these are deadly serious issues, and nobody can stand aside for them. Secretary of Defense Hegseth has been volatile, hysterical. He's desperate to keep his office. His rhetoric, along with the President of the United States, makes it sound like we're running a Christian crusade against Islam. And so, I don't think there was a balanced set of policy options and hashing out the repercussions. The President of the United States drives all the policy. It's policy by whim, by dictate. Congress is not really engaged. And fortunately, the media and the judicial system so far haven't caved in. But those are the only two barriers to Trump running unconstrained, as evidenced by these two incredible Truth Social postings on Easter Day and then this morning. That was nuts behavior.
Retired Army General Barry McCaffrey shared his perspective on just how dangerous a time we're living in right now under Donald Trump's rule.
And it appears that he is unhinged, incoherent, saying things that are flat unacceptable for American values and the Constitution. It is an astonishing state of affairs, and we got 2 more years with him as the commander-in-chief of the U.S. Armed Forces.
Unhinged is correct. Unacceptable. Totally true. Very weird. Yep. Not to mention, by the way, he owns the social media platform. That's a side note. You're not supposed to make money when you're in office in that way. It's obviously major conflict of interest. But, I mean, unusual for the mainstream media. There has been an avalanche of backlash and pushback against Trump and his officials for his insane rhetoric in this war, saying, open the straight, saying, you crazy saying we will annihilate your entire civilization. This signals the war is unpopular with the American people if the mainstream media is pushing back to that level. And despite that, the Trump administration doubles down in this very creepy, strange, dangerous way, leaning heavily into Christian nationalism and religious rhetoric surrounding this war.
It's the pulpits that back up from Christian nationalism that make the Christian patriot feel like they're awkward or extreme. That's where most of the damage is done. And I pray to God this year that shifts and the momentum goes to the outspoken Christian who is a Christian nationalist. There's not enough mobilizing of the Christian community, the 30 to 35 million of us that are out there, to be a muscular catalytic force to reshape this nation. Either we have a great awakening or we will not make it into the future. There has to be a fusion of the political and the spiritual. Yes. And we can no longer be embarrassed or inarticulate in taking that position, because this is the hope for the future of America.
And with Trump there, which is one of those rare moments in Earth history where you have someone who's not a politician, you almost got a prophet in office. They said to him yesterday, he's hilarious. They said to him, when will this war of Iran be done? He goes, I'll know. Well, when will you know? What evidence are you looking for? I'll feel it in my bones. Folks, that's not even normal. This is why that's why his enemies are freaking out. Trump's going to feel it in his bones. Yeah, that's exactly right. That's how he negotiates all these deals. It's a gut instinct. It's called his spirit man. This guy's an actual Old Testament prophet king. That's what he really is, whether you like him or not. Donald Trump only has 2 more years to be in office, and in November he could have his whole momentum blocked, because most Christians don't even know that there's a midterm thing, and what happens in midterms, in the middle of your term, the other party can organize better than you and take away all your power. And so for some reason the founders felt this would be checks and balances, but really it's dysfunction. You want to save the nation, God gave you a nation, blessed is the nation as God is the Lord. In midterms, like 35% of Christians who will vote in a presidential election won't vote at all, because to them it's a shoulder shrug. They don't even know it's important. Well, it's important because in the middle of the term, the devil plans on impeaching Trump and stopping the move of funding and the move of revival.
We Christians have to rise up and vote, so we keep getting millions of dollars funneled towards us and not towards other religions, because we're living in a Christo-fascist nation now. Is that where we are? And look, of course you can rile your own religious group to go vote, but it's just the zealotry, the fervor, the just underlying othering of other groups of people that make it seem as though the president should only be serving Christian people and should only be a president to those who worship the same way he does, which, by the way, hot tip, this just in, he doesn't worship anything but himself.
Okay. You mentioned the Bible. You've been talking about how it's your favorite book, and you said, I think last night in Iowa, some people are surprised that you say that. I'm wondering what 1 or 2 of your most favored Bible verses are, and why.
I wouldn't want to get into it, because to me that's very personal. You know, when I talk about the Bible, it's very personal, so I don't want to get into verses. I don't want to get into...
There's no verse that means a lot to you that you think about or cite?
The Bible means a lot to me, but I don't want to get into specifics.
even to cite a verse that
No,
you like?
I don't want to do that.
You're
I
an
mean,
Old Testament guy or a New Testament guy?
Probably equal. I think it's just an incredible, the whole Bible is an incredible, I joke very much so. They always hold up the Art of the Deal. I say my second favorite book of all time.
He doesn't go to church. He just talked about the Iran war next to the Easter Bunny in front of a bunch of children in graphic terms. The man is godless, but that doesn't stop people that want to use him and use God to get more money for themselves. It's all a Ponzi scheme, and you're not part of it. Congrats. I'm Ben Gleib for Rebel HQ. You can follow me at Ben Gleib on Instagram for lots more.